being recorded on this line.
Okay.
Hi, Steve. How you? I hope you're staying well during this trying time we're going through right.
Well, I'm doing pretty well.
Hello, everybody.
And nobody in my family has the virus, and we're being very careful. So hopefully that'll keep us safe.
Yeah, hopefully we can stay safe too. This is kind of a sparsely populated county. Well, there are a lot of people here, but there's no great airports near here, so I feel pretty safe. This is Shirley Satterfield from the DailyWisdomWords.com community, introducing one of our star writers, Stephen Arnett. Stephen, I understand you've written several books. How many books exactly have you written?
I have written 6, published 6.
That's amazing. What genre do you write in?
I don't write in one genre. The book we're going to discuss today is a pretty traditional mystery in terms of the form, but I've also written a book that is a comedy, kind of a black comedy, as you would classify it. I've written a story that falls more in the romance genre. I've written a book of short stories that doesn't really fall into any certain pattern. So I write stories that come into my head, and that doesn't follow any genre pattern. I've also written a story that you would call suspense or horror.
Can you tell me the names of your books?
Yes. The one we're going to discuss today is called Death on Lake Michigan. The comedy that I was talking about, it's more like in a Vonnegut or Hunter Thompson vein. That's called Winners and Losers. The romance story that I mentioned, that's about a guy who comes home after being in Vietnam. That's called The Summer of Robert Byron. And I've also written a book called The Labyrinth that it's kind of the story of a young man and all the different things that he goes through. He travels all over the country, really having a hard time finding himself, but he was involved in a murder when he was in high school, and that kind of follows him all through his life and until it catches up with him at the end of the story. And I've written a book of short stories. It's just called The Short Stories of Stephen Arnett. And the horror story, suspense story I was talking about is called The Strange Curse of Greta.
Well, can you give us kind of a summary of your featured book today? Death on Lake Michigan, that's what it's called?
Yes, it's a traditional memory, a traditional mystery in terms of the style of it. It would be what you would call an amateur detective story or mystery in that vein, as opposed to many mysteries which focus on a really qualified or smart detective. It's set in a town on Lake Michigan that is called Gullhaven. That's a fictional name, but it's actually based on the town of Saugatuck, which is quite famous in Michigan and Chicago and and areas that are near to the Great Lakes. It's known for being kind of a glamorous town. There's a lot of very rich people there. It really has a party atmosphere during the summer, and it's really quite beautiful too, and has great beaches nearby. And in the story, a guy, one of the most notorious characters in the town, and there are a lot of characters in that type of town, is a drug dealer and a very well-known partier. His body ends up floating up onto the beach in Gullhaven, and the lead character in the book, Mike O'Brien, is the assistant editor of the local paper, and he's right on the scene at the time the body is found. He becomes very intrigued by the story, and he ends up working very closely with the local sheriff to try to solve the case. And as in many mysteries of this type, the most obvious suspects don't turn out to be who the true killer is. And I think when the reader finds out who it is, they'll be quite surprised, even though they will have gotten to know that suspect through the course of the story. So it's got, red herrings, and I think it has a lot of interesting characters that keep the reader interested. I've gotten a lot of good reviews, actually dozens of 5-star reviews are reported on it in Amazon, and it's the most popular of the books I've written, and that's why I thought it would be a good one for us to focus on today.
That sounds really good. I wanted to ask you, has that book been reviewed on Daily Wisdom Words website yet?
I believe it has, yes. It has been quite a while ago. Samantha reviewed it when I first joined Daily Wisdom Words.
Okay, and speaking of Daily Wisdom Words, can you tell me how important the website has been to you as a marketing tool for your books?
Well, the main thing it's done for me is I was their first featured author, so that gave me a lot of visibility, and I really appreciate Samantha and the website for giving me that opportunity. So in that sense, it's been really good for exposure to me. And when the review went on Daily Wisdom Words, I used that to promote the book and other books, using what was at the Daily Wisdom Words site on other social media like Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and so forth.
Yeah, they do have great links to other websites, Reddit, and even Pinterest is on there. You can post your books on Pinterest. Are you an indie author or traditionally published author?
Yeah, I'm an indie author, self-published through Amazon and
Yes.
Smashwords.
Can you tell me where your books are available?
Right now, they're mostly just available through Amazon because I'm part of KDP Select. And if you're in that, as you may know, you have to offer your books exclusively through Amazon. So that's the case for all of my books, except the book of short stories, which is available for free through Smashwords, and I believe through some other platforms also, like Apple and Barnes and Noble and so forth.
I will have to look that one up. I like free books. Do you have anything planned for the future?
I'm not writing a book right now. I'm rolling some things around in my mind, and I may end up starting one fairly soon, especially because of the fact that, of course, we all have a lot more free time now than we did a couple of months ago. If I do, I'll probably write a mystery because it's much easier to sell books that are in a popular genre like that. Some genres like
I think that
some genres like
I think that a lot of great books are.
some genres like comedy, people just aren't buying them anymore. If you look at the sales on Amazon and other platforms, they're just not selling. If people want comedy, they turn to Netflix or TV or whatever. But mysteries as a book genre are still quite popular.
I agree with you there. Well, I thank you for the interview, and I wish you well with all your books, and I am going to look into your work and see what would be nice for me to read. You take care of yourself, and I personally think a lot of great books are going to come out of this period of time. A lot of great poetry and books and art. There's going to be a renaissance after this is all over, I believe. Take care and have a real nice.
Yeah, thank you very much, Shirley. It was nice meeting you, and thanks a lot for interviewing me.